Okay. Sige, let's classify each account. Okay, again, payable is the keyword sa lahat ng liability account. Okay? Payable. Kasi nga, ang liabilities are obligations. Paki-check po ha, naka-display na yung answer. These are obligations. Next. Yes. Miss Donaire.
Parehas po yung mga sa exam ko din po. Pinag po din po yung questions sa exam.
Again? Ganito din.
Opo.
Okay, yung problem solving ako nag-iba sa grade 10. Medyo mahirap yun kanila. Yung grade 10. Medyo ganon, pero yung amounts, iba po. Yung amounts. And then may hinalo ako doon sa grade 10. I'll check your answers later. Doon, particular doon sa problem solving, ha? Miss Donaire later. Pero this one, oo nga, you can check. Parehas nga to, parehas. Same set of questions dito sa objective type. Sige po. Baka meron kayong nai-answer ha. Pakisend na lang na almost ganito asset or na mali lang ng isang letter. I'll consider that na minalian ni Jenny. Kaya na mali lang ng spelling tapos minalian. Pakisend na lang. Screenshot and then send. Okay, next, receivable. Receivable, always an asset account. Receivable, asset palagi. Keyword din yan para sa asset. Receivable. These are accounts to be received by debitors. Receivable. Next, furniture and fixtures, asset account. Next. Okay, service income. Okay, from the term income, revenue. Okay. Next, depreciation of a delivery van or any asset. Depreciation is an expense. Depreciation is an expense. Deduction yan. Ganito yan eh. Let's say itong delivery van, also known as vehicle. Let's say 100,000 pesos yung amount ng vehicle. Paano nagiging expenses ang depreciation? Again, sinabi ko lahat ng asset depreciates except sa land. Okay? Due to usage, due to technology, due to mga innovations. Oops, may na-disconnect ulit. Okay, dinededuct kasi yan eh. I-deduct natin depreciation. Let's say 5,000. So, vehicle, ganito yung tamang paglagay ha. Vehicle, lalagyan nyo siya ng dash. Depreciation. Pakisulat po sa notebook nyo. So, ganyan yung tamang pag-encode. Depreciation. Let's say 5,000 pesos. 5K. 5K na lang alam. Okay po? Sige, paki-copy muna kasi this one is important. So, any asset to, let's say, a computer. Let's say, machine. Or any equipment. So, machinery and equipment, let's say, ang total, we have 500,000 pesos. Naantok si Eliza. Machinery and equipment dash depreciation. Let's say, nagde-depreciate every month na ang machinery and equipment ng, let's say, 10,000 pesos. Okay? Okay, ganyan po yung tamang entry. Machinery, so dapat ilalagay yung particular account na katulad nito, machinery and equipment, tapos dinededuct yung depreciation. Dinededuct yung depreciation. Nilalagay siya, ini-indicate siya, dash. Dash depreciation. Okay, and then sinusubtract yan. Okay po, kaya, therefore, depreciation is an expense. Kasi it is a deduction to any asset. Deduction to any asset. Okay po, nakopy na. Nilalagyan siya ng dash. Or hyphen. Ayan, Precious and Justin, are you having difficulty sa internet? Sige, you may turn off your camera temporarily. Pwedeng paki-off para hindi na kayo na di-disconnect from time to time. Ayan. Next, unexpired insurance. Unexpired insurance. Meaning, pag sinabing unexpired, meaning active. Ang insurance. Continues ang payment ng company sa insurance policy. Okay? Active. Rather. Next, rentals for space occupied by a laundry shop. So rentals for space, again, these are expense. Rentals. Rentals are expenses. Let's say walang sariling location or business, venue. So nagre-rent lang, walang sariling property, rather yung business nagre-rent lang. So yung payment para sa space na yon is an expense. Okay, monthly merong payment ng expenses on that rent. Okay. Okay, supplies used. So mga gamit na supplies. So those are expenses. Next, property, plant, and equipment, also known as acronym. Mayroon siyang acronym na, privilege. P, P, and E. So ito po yung term niya. Complete term, property, plant, and equipment. So property, these are land, building, also considered as yan, mga land, building, and equipment. Machinery and equipment. So yung term, before kasi ginagamit yung machinery and equipment as account. Machinery and equipment. Ngayon, ito na siya. Ito na yung ginagamit. Property, plant, and equipment. So, let's say, merong depreciation ulit ng particular equipment na yan, lalagyan nyo lang din. Property, acronym ko lang ha, or initial. Property, plant, or equipment, less, dash rather, depreciation. Ibig sabihin, merong pagliit ng value sa particular na asset na yan. Property, plant, or equipment. Okay? Next, capital is an equity account. Again, dalawa lang ang equity account, capital, and withdrawal. Yes? Justin?
Miss, minalian po ako kahit sagot ko po owner's equity. Pero may apostrophe po yung owners.
Okay, sige po. I'll consider that. Owner's equity or equity, pwede. OE, pwede din. I'll consider that. OE, pwede din. Or ganyan. Equity or equities, pwede din. Owner equity, pwede din. I'll consider that. Or equity. Ayan. Okay, next. This one, drawings of the owner in the business. Ito rin. For those na merong correction, pakisend po. OE, pwede din. Or buo, owner's equity. Answers will be considered. Next, legal fees. Earned. From the term earned. Legal fees earned by the business, those are revenue. This one, prepaid expenses. Ayan po, ito again, yung nag-iisang asset account na mayroong expense sa kanyang title. Prepaid expenses. Tulad ng prepaid account, prepaid insurance, prepaid rent, yung meron kayong mga deposit. Ayan, those are called prepaid expense under asset major account. Next, amounts earned by the employees for services rendered to the business. Amounts earned by employees. Okay, employees naman ang nag-earn. Yung earlier, earned by the business, therefore nakaka-receive. Merong inflow ng pera. Okay, this time, ang nag-earn ay employees, therefore payment naman ng business sa kanyang empleyado. Outflow naman ng pera sa business. Okay, therefore, these are expenses. Also known as the salaries and wages expense. Salaries and wages. Next, obligation to suppliers for goods and services rendered. These are liabilities. Obligation are liability. Next. Sanitation, health, and inspection fees. So these are for your permits and licenses. Permits and licenses. These are expenses. Ayan, para magkaroon ng permit or license to operate ang isang business, kailangan na-check muna kung okay ang sanitation facilities, okay ang pag-in-inspect, walang clear out of mga possible bacteria, possible germs. Ayan, para magkaroon ng permits at license sa isang business. Okay, it has to undergo inspection from the munisipyo or barangay. Siyempre, yung payment out of that inspection is an expense. Next, land acquired for use by the business. Okay, yan yung property, plant, and equipment. Those are assets. Next, ito ulit, obligations covered by promissory notes. Obligations covered by promissory notes is a liability account. So, yung term para dyan ay notes payable. Pinagsasama lang, payable. Notes, lahat ng liability ay mayroong payable sa kanyang title. This one, profit from sale of goods that were previously acquired for sale. Profit, yung keyword, sa pagbenta ng kanyang mga goods or products na stake. These are revenue. Under the title sales. And last, structures or edifices like building acquired for use by the office. Sa any structure or mga buildings, those are assets. Yes, Saibel?
Sir, yung sa rentals for space po, pwede po ba asset or expenses lang po talaga?
Saan? Dito?
Sir, hindi po, yung rentals for space po.
Rentals. Rentals for space. Ito. Rentals for space occupied by a laundry shop. Expense lang. Expense lang siya. Rentals. Ito kasi yung mga payments eh. Yan, payments. Hindi siya pwedeng makonsider as asset ng business kasi hindi talaga siya property ng business. Kapag property talaga siya ng business, therefore you consider that as asset. Kung nagre-rent lang siya, for lease, temporarily lang ino-occupied for rent lang din. Okay? What else? Sino pang may corrections? Mr. Friedrich, kindly open your Genio account. Kindly open your Genio account and click the first quarter examination in bookkeeping. Please double check your answers. To the correct answers that is displayed. Ayan, this one. Gusto nyo dun sa item analysis para makita nyo kung how many of you got the question incorrectly or correctly. Wait lang, punta tayo sa item analysis. Ayan. So for this question alone, yan, all of you got the question correct. So every organization now, regardless of its nature, must keep records of its transactions. So true. Okay. This one, every economic entity should keep track of its accomplishments and the sacrifices involved to realize them. So pag sinabing accomplishments, ito ay mga benefits. Ito yung mga na-receive niyang revenue, income. So when we say sacrifices, these are the parted with account amounts. Ito yung mga nawala sa kanya. These are mga costs, mga expenses, mga binayaran niya, mga outflow ng pera. Okay, you have to sacrifice for you to earn or accomplish a certain goal. Next, 3 types of business organizations are single proprietorship, partnership, and ano dapat to? Corporation. Corporations. Meron pang pang-apat, association. Asosasyon. This was built to achieve a certain goal. Ayan, meron siya yung mga associations, mga charities, mga built, yung mga churches na nagsulputan, yung mga iba-iba born again, those are mga earning profit. You are obliged to pay or give donations. Records of economic activities are kept only by business firms. So 50%, not only the business firms, the governments are keeping it. You have to send kasi your income statement, the balance sheet or the financial position, statement position. Ayan, lahat yan pino-forward sa government, not only the government. And of course, potential investors. In that sense, they can decide if they are to invest sa business. Kaya hindi lang business firms. Next, strict adherence to accounting standards in the Philippines has made accounting reports reliable and as a consequence has attracted international investors to the country. Ayan, true. There should be strict adherence or strict compliance sa accounting standards sa Philippines. Again, meron kasi talagang mga not all, may mga businesses talaga that they are manipulating yung kanilang mga amounts. Yeah. They are consistently parang making use of the power they have just to make their business parang look na they are really earning or konti lang talaga yung ine-earn just to lessen their taxes, mga ganun. Kasi the taxes they are paying sa government is based on their income based din sa kanilang sales. So kapag mataas yung revenue mo or yung income mo, therefore mataas yung tax, yung babayaran mo. Ganun. This one, without realizing it, every individual must have some knowledge of bookkeeping, for he must keep track of his accomplishments and the sacrifices involved. Next. Ayan, good. 100% got it correct. So every businessman must have adequate proficiency in the use of the double entry bookkeeping system. So, therefore, he can visualize the possible effects of whatever decisions he makes on the result of operations and financial position. Next, an error in bookkeeping can result in distorted information and consequently success of the business. So, hindi po success, failure. Failure of the business. Kasi merong manipulation or misinformation inside the business. Okay, it will result to failure, not success. This one, for academic purposes, an account is considered material even if the amount is very small. Of the accessibility of the information. This one is 3. Ayan, all of you got it. Ayan, madami pa to, hanggang 20. All business entity owners are personally liable for the debts of their business in accordance with the sound accounting information. Ayan. True or false? False kasi, di ba, anong sabi ko sa inyo? Ang sabi dito, owners. Di ba, when the business is produced, meron ng separation between the owners and the business itself. Separated from the business. So therefore, the owners are no longer liable for the debts. The owners are no longer liable kasi separate and distinct na ang identity ng owners to the business. Hiwalay na po. You sue the business and not the owner. You can now sue the owner, the business, at hindi yung mga owners. Next, in accounting and legal points of view, an owner of a single proprietorship business enterprise is a distinct and separate entity from the business. Ayan. Ito po yung sinasabi kong definition ng accounting sa mga businesses. Meron ng distinct and separate identity. The profit and loss system is the other name for the balance sheet. Hindi po. Kapag profit and loss statement, ito yung income statement. Income statement ay revenue minus expenses equals net income or net loss. Yung balance sheet naman ay yung balance na liability and equity equal. Ayan, ito yung balance sheet. So expenses will increase the owner's capital account and also increase the result of operation. So ito yung owner's equity. Paki-copy po, owner's equity. Every time na mayroong expenses, ito ay dinededuct. Lagyan natin ng minus. Okay, anong effect? Ibig sabihin ito yung effect niya. Di ba ang owner's equity ay portion or share ng owner sa business? Therefore, every time na mayroong outflow ng pera, every time na mayroong costs or expenses in the business, nababawasan yung kanyang equity. Okay? Ito ay deduction. Minus to ha, minus. Or you can use this one. Naka-parenthesis. Parentheses will also indicate na this is a deduction. Expenses. Ayan. Either of the two. Pero ito, yung parentheses will be used frequently. Ito yung parang mas detailed. Yung naka-parentheses. Expenses. Okay? And so with the withdrawal. Pakicopy po ha, this is very important. Oh, withdrawal, so that you will know na nababawasan ang equity kapag merong withdrawal. Yan yung dalawang nagiging effect na expenses at withdrawal sa business. Nababawasan yung owner's equity. Ano naman yung dalawa din? These are deductions ha. These are deductions. Lagay natin. Deduction. Meron din naman dalawang accounts wherein equity is being increased. Ito ay ang revenue at capital. Ito yung magiging dalawang effect. So, lagyan natin ng plus to indicate that it is an addition. So, ito naman ay addition or other words, it will increase the owner's equity. Okay? Dalawa po yan. So, every time na merong selling ng products, yung gross or yung revenue or yung income, ang effect sa equity will increase. Okay po? Tumataas yung equity account, equity amount, tataas yan kapag mayroong kinikita in the business. Okay? And on the other hand, merong expenses, mayroong cost, inclusions, mayroong withdrawal in the business, nababawasan yung owner's equity. Yun ang effect nitong apat na accounts na to. Revenue, capital, expenses, at withdrawal. Expenses and withdrawal are deductions. Revenue and capital are additions. Nadadagdag. It will increase the owner's equity. Okay? Nakopy na. Next. Any supporting evidence is acceptable for BIR checking purposes. Any? Of course. What are the documents or evidences that BIR will accept? Ano yung palaging hinihingi ng BIR if you are to pay yung kanilang taxes? Ano yung parang pinaka kailangan nilang i-verify sa mga business or on individuals? Yes, Miss Isabel.
Your lisensya?
License. What else? What else? Anyone? Of course, license, di ba? Permits and licenses. BIR will check if you already have the license to operate. Aside from license, if you are to pay yung taxes, ano yung pinaka number 1 na kailangan nilang i-check sa mga businesses and kahit sa individual? O, sa business lang tayo. Oh, as you can see, 87.5% got it incurred. Sa mga business. Anyone, try lang po. Justin.
Ano po yun?
Ano yung pinakakailangan na i-submit ng isang business sa BIR to check?
Financial report po, mga financial statement po.
Financial, aside from financial statements, anong basis ng financial statement? Income statement, anong basis? The basis ng financial statement and income statement, and if you have permits and licenses, is that you are going to submit to them the receipts you issued to your customers or clients. Tama? That's why you as the customer or the client should always get a receipt from the business. Tama po, yan yung sinasubmit. That's why tatlo yung copy, if I'm not mistaken, tatlo yung copies ng resibo. Tatlo. Iba-ibang color. Merong blue, mayroong pink, and then the white one. Tama? Nakakita na kayo ng tatlong iba-ibang paper ng receipt, pero isa yung nakalagay doon. Tapos nilalagyan nila ng carbon paper. Ayan. Kasi the data or the information na nilagay doon, yung amount, kung ilan quantity, those are the basis of the BIR if you are parang encoding or the amounts are accurate sa business mo. Kung tama ba yung mga amounts na nilalagay mo, tama ba yung mga nare-release mo na mga products or na payment ng mga customer or client sa business. Ayan. With the help of the evidence called receipt. Di ba pag nagbayad din kayo ng Meralco bill, ayan, di ba? Meron silang computerized na yun, ilalagay na nila, ipiprint na lang doon mismo sa bill. Ayan. Those are also considered mga electronic receipts. Either of the receipt, kahit yung old or lumang pagbigay ng mga papers, yung mga statement na fully paid ka na or you still have balance, yan. Kailangan yan na na-check. A family should also keep records of its earnings, expenses, savings, and investment. Of course. True. Ayan, 100% got it. So there are different users of financial statements. However, the bookkeeper should record transactions in a manner that will favor the owner or the owners of the business. Ayan, false po. Last 3 questions under the double entry bookkeeping system. Records kept of cash receipts and disbursements. Major transactions are merely noted. So, hindi lang cash receipts at disbursements ang tinatago or ang kailangan for you to check if the business is applying double entry bookkeeping system. Lahat, pati yung sinabi ko kaninang owner's equity, ayan, it also checks if the business is applying double entry. So, yun nga. So, ano yung sa expenses o using expenses account? So, hindi lang yan basta nag-spend ka. Nag-spend ka ng 1 million pesos. It's not that you earned 2 million pesos. For you to know na you apply double entry bookkeeping system is that you have to check kung ano ang effect nitong spending na to, 1 million, at yung earning na 2 million sa equity. Anong effect? Yung expenses is a deduction, and so with the earnings or revenue, this is an addition sa equity. Ayun yung nagiging effect. Therefore, you apply double entry bookkeeping system. Hindi lang siya basta spending and earning. Hindi lang siya basta sacrifices and then you accomplish. Meron po siyang effect. Mayroong effect sa equity. Merong effect sa either lahat ng account. Asset, liability, equity, anong effect sa revenue, anong effect sa expenses. Next, the life of a business is assumed to be divided into accounting periods for the purpose of preparing the periodic financial statement. So, yan, true. Okay, ulit, pag sinabi accounting periods, it can be daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual. And/or annual. The property of the family of a business proprietor may be considered as property of the business even if it is not invested in the business. Even if it is not invested. False po ang sagot dito. Again, you will only count or consider ang property kapag ang certain asset ay ininvest sa business. Pag ininvest lang, then you will count. Pag hindi ininvest, hindi na kailangan i-count yung property ng owner ng business. And then last, certified public accountants belong to a profession of recognized standing. So, true. Oh. Okay. So far, if you have corrections, sige, pwede nyo nang isend. Then we'll continue the item analysis tomorrow. So hopefully matapos natin tomorrow para mayroon na kayong final scores. And this one. So pwede na rin natin to i-check. There. So, government office that regulates professional practices in the Philippines, PRC. Professional Regulation Commission. So, ano pa yung mga profession under the PRC, accountant, engineers, teachers, architects, doctors, nurses, and so on, so forth. Excess of revenue over expenses, net income. Obligation to pay, liability. Anything of economic value, those are assets. Recording phase of accounting, bookkeeping. The parties to whom the business has payables, syempre sa kanyang mga pinagkakautangan or the so-called creditors. So, dalawa yan eh, creditors and debtors. Creditors yung nagpautang sa inyo. Debtors yung tawag sa inyo, sa nangutang. And vice versa. Kapag kayo naman ang nagpautang, on your point of view, kayo ang creditors. Yung sa pinautang nyo, ang tawag sa kanila debtors. Sila yung pinautang. Okay po. It shows the results of operations. Result. Income statement, ang result ng operation. May income ba or losses? It shows the financial position of the business. Ito ang balance sheet. Anong position ng finances in the business? Mataas ba yung asset? Mataas ba yung liabilities? Or puro owner's equity? The parties from whom the business has receivables, ayan, ito yon sinabi ko kanina. Debtors. Cost of doing business, these are expenses. So, if you have corrections, pwede nang